Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today with a return note for Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam was doing a Q&A at the Mid-Atlantic Legends Fan Fest, which was held in Charlotte, North Carolina this weekend. Basically, anytime you have a past WWE wrestler that is still in shape and can still, for the most part, still go, there's always going to be that question, asked, when are you returning to WWE? It doesn't matter if the guy is fresh out of TNA or maybe he just left WWE within a month. Basically, you're always going to be asking, Chris Jericho is another guy like this, when are we going to see you wrestle on TV? It's always like you're asking him because you want to know the answer. But inside, that even if you're talking to them to their face, they're not going to tell you the answer because when they come back, they want it to be a surprise. Now, Rob Van Dam, honestly, is a guy that has been on a lot of people's minds since leaving the WWE. I believe it was last summer. Everybody can remember. He was gone from wrestling for a long time. He made his return to TNA Impact Wrestling. TNA Impact treated him like a huge star. The first few months he was there, they even put the World Heavyweight Championship on him. Then they stripped it from him and put the title up in a tournament, bringing Rob Van Dam back before the tournament was even over, wondering why they even needed a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion if the champion was able to fight before they even crowned a new champion. It made no sense at all. But once he finally got out of TNA, once he was almost done is when they started putting him in main events again against Bobby Roode. They had one hell of a ladder match, if you can remember that one. But once he left TNA, if you were watching the pay-per-view that was before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, they aired a vignette basically saying that Rob Van Dam was returning to WWE. He was going to be coming in at the Money in the Bank ladder match, the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and people went bananas. They treated Rob Van Dam like he was one of the biggest stars to ever be there in wrestling. He came in, he worked the main event. I thought that, honestly, when he came in, he was going to join himself with Paul Heyman, becoming a new Paul Heyman guy, playing off of the ECW Paul Heyman, but it turns out that they just used Rob as a babyface. And if you can remember, the first week that he was back in WWE, they had him in that main event. They had him wrestle against Chris Jericho on Monday Night Raw. They had him, go to SmackDown and wrestle there. And then he got put into this long feud with Alberto Del Rio over the World Heavyweight Championship, where the manager of Del Rio, turned on Del Rio and sided with Rob Van Dam, and you're trying to find out why Ricardo Rodriguez would want to manage Rob Van Dam. Are these guys friends? Why does Rob Van Dam want Ricardo Rodriguez's help? When is Ricardo Rodriguez going to turn on Rob Van Dam? And nothing ever happened of it. Just Rob Van Dam and Del Rio kept on wrestling pointless matches on SmackDown and pay-per-views for the World Heavyweight Championship, and it made no sense at all. Once basically that run was done, Rob Van Dam left and came back after WrestleMania 30 at WrestleMania 30's Monday Night Raw. He came in, with a lot of fanfare, people thinking that he would be a main eventer again, and they didn't really know what to do with Rob Van Dam on that run. Basically, at Extreme Rules, he was included into a feud of Cesaro versus Jack Swagger. From there, he would become the #1 contender for the Intercontinental Championship, going after Wade Barrett. He ended up getting put into the Money in the Bank that was won by Seth Rollins. But WWE never really used him. So I understand Rob Van Dam wants to make money. And he'd probably want to be in WWE because that's probably where the more money is going to be. Rob Van Dam is saying that he is still under WWE contract because of a merchandising deal. And because of that, Rob Van Dam is not able to wrestle for TNA or ROH even if he wanted to. But I think that, honestly, RVD has one last run in him. These runs where basically Rob Van Dam comes into WWE and he does a 3-month stint really works for him. He does them about, honestly, close to once a year. I'm sure he makes a good deal of money doing it. But if WWE is going to bring back Rob Van Dam, they need to find a really good spot to put him, because just having him out there as just another guy doesn't work. Rob Van Dam is debatably close to being a Hall of Famer. I think that honestly, Rob Van Dam one day will be put into the Hall of Fame to sort of give a wing to start, you know, I don't think a lot of ECW wrestlers are going to get into there. A lot of ECW wrestlers are really over. I'm sure in the minds of WWE and the people that choose who's going into the WWE Hall of Fame, guys like the Sandman, Sabu, you know, stuff like that, they're not really going to be going into the Hall of Fame. Balls Mahoney to be another one, but at least to have some sort of person in there, except for Paul Heyman, to sort of show that ECW did have good wrestling. You know, Lance Storm is a great wrestler. Did time in ECW, which I talked about him like he was doing prison time. But I just don't think that WWE will ever put him into the Hall of Fame as it is. So, you know, Rob Van Dam is probably the one guy that can really get there that, you know, isn't one of the guys like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, you know, Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, the guys that were just there for a short stint before leaving to go to WCW or WWE along the way. But I hope Rob Van Dam does make an appearance in WWE somewhere. You know, every time there's a Royal Rumble, people get excited thinking that Rob Van Dam's going to return for it. So we'll see what's coming in the foreseeable future for Rob Van Dam. It seems that he wants to make a WWE run before his time is done. He did say that, you know, he was going to wrestle until an undisclosed time, which basically he said was not too far away. So the time is ripe for the pickings. Let's get RVD back in WWE.